This conference will now be recorded.
Hello friends, welcome to this very quick tutorial on YAML. My name is Prashant. I will be your instructor for this course on stop here.
This conference will now be recorded.
Hello friends, welcome to this quick tutorial on YAML. In our session today, let's try to get answers to what is YAML, where is YAML used, what are the different components in YAML like key value pairs, comments, objects, lists of booleans and some environment variables. What are these different components and how to write these components in YAML syntax? Yeah, and where is YAML used? These sort of things let's try to get an answer to. So first things first, let's try to get an answer to what is YAML. YAML is a data serialization language. What does that mean? Data serialization language. Serialization language means, let's say, the two technologies, two applications of which are developed on two different technologies, they need to talk. Okay, some two different technologies, they need to talk. In that scenario, how do we establish a connection between these two technologies? Means we go with some certain set of standards using some serialization languages like JSON, XML, and YAML. YAML is one such language, a data serialization language that is used for writing configuration files. Yeah, and depending on whom you ask, YAML, the full form of YAML is actually categorized into two different ways. Some people say YAML full form is YAML ain't markup language, and some people say yet another markup language. But according to the official site of YAML, the definition is YAML ain't markup language, meaning YAML is not just a markup language but something beyond that. Okay, so we got to understand what is YAML, a data serialization language. And serialization language is nothing but two different technologies need to talk, and we need to establish communication between these two different technologies. The applications developed on two different technologies. We follow some serialization languages which contain some set of standards. YAML is one such programming language. Yeah, and now let's try to get into some of the concepts around YAML programming, like how to get started with writing a YAML file. And YAML files they're plain text documents, and you save them with either .yaml extension or .yml extension. So when it comes to the extension of YAML, we save YAML files either with a .yml extension or .yml extension. Next, this is a widely used format for different tools and applications. And where do we use YAML? In our DevOps, in the scope of our DevOps course, where do we find YAML? In Docker, we have a concept of Docker Compose. Okay, in this Docker Compose concept, writing multi-container architecture, we use YAML. Yeah, and again in Docker Swarm concept, Docker Stack. Okay, these are the different areas and so on. These are the different areas where we write YAML files, configuration in format of YAML. And when it comes to Ansible configuration management tool, in Ansible we have the concept of playbooks. All these playbooks are written in the format of YAML. Okay, Ansible playbooks, we use multiple modules to perform multiple different types of configurations on multiple servers from one point of control. So when we jump to Ansible sections, I'll discuss in much more detail about Ansible playbooks. And where else do we find YAML? In Kubernetes, writing Kubernetes manifest files. Kubernetes manifest files, we use YAML, and Prometheus, uh, a monitoring tool, application monitoring as well as server monitoring. We have a tool called Prometheus. In this Prometheus monitoring tool, we use YAML files. So YAML, it's a good to know thing, and there is nothing much to discuss in YAML. Just 20 minutes of our discussion in YAML gives us a complete understanding around how to write YAML files. Okay, so let's get started with how to write YAML files. YAML file syntax, it's completely categorized as key value based. So first things first, YAML files begins with three dashes and ends with three dots, and in between begins with three dashes and ends with three dots, and in between we write our configuration. Yeah, and all the configurations we write here are in the format of keys and values. YAML is a superset of JSON, meaning any valid JSON code is also a valid YAML file. You can write JSON code in YAML, and you can save that as a YAML extension file, and which is valid because YAML is a superset of JSON. A simple syntax of how YAML file appears. Let's try to understand. It begins with three dashes and ends with three dots. Let's say courses. Okay, I want to add some courses here. So courses, and I add a colon here, and in this courses object, I write some keys and values, like let's say DevOps. DevOps, the trainer for DevOps is, let's say, Prashant. Okay, big data. These are some of the courses offered by our institution. Let's say, big data. The course offered, sorry, the trainer for big data is Sridhar. Let's say. Okay. Next, MuleSoft. Praveen. So this is an ideal, or just a common structure of a YAML file. Okay, everything we write in the format of keys and values, and now this courses thing, we call it as an object, and this object contains three child elements: DevOps, big data, and MuleSoft. Okay, DevOps is the key, and Prashant becomes the value. And see friends, there is an indentation which we add some space to differentiate between the courses, and these are the child elements in the courses object. And one more thing, when we write a key, DevOps, immediately followed by colon, DevOps colon. After that, when we write a value, you should add a space. Very important. We should add a space and then a value. Okay, big data colon. This is the key, and when we add a value, definitely there should be a space. Okay, YAML is very strict. YAML has a very strict indentation, so we should follow that indentation. If not, our YAML file will not be treated as a valid YAML file. Now, this is the simple syntax for writing, courses thing in YAML. Now, let's try to understand why YAML is why YAML is widely recognized, and why is it used widely? Why not other serialization languages like XML or JSON? Let's try to find the ambiguity between these three different technologies. Let's compare them with YAML. So if the same syntax I were to write in XML, things go this way. I go with creating a tag which is courses, and a closing tag somewhere at the end, /courses, and again here another tag with the name course. Okay, and let's say here /course, and here within this course I say DevOps. Let's say the trainer is Prashant, and /DevOps. Okay, next, big data, and trainer name Sridhar. slash big data. Okay, so this way MuleSoft and Praveen / MuleSoft. See friends, how many lines of code I have to write if I follow or if I go with XML, extensible markup language. And the same example, let's go with how to write a JSON file. In JSON, how things happen, let's try to understand. JSON syntax, a curly brace here, I write courses and open a square bracket, and here open one more curly brace, and I write everything in keys and values like DevOps Prashant, big data Sridhar, MuleSoft Praveen, and close the curly brace here, close the square bracket here, and once again close the beginning, a closing curly brace to this beginning to match this beginning curly brace, and this is the syntax in JSON. So friends, now it's evident that why YAML, because it's super intuitive and human readable when compared with either XML or JSON, other serialization languages, right? So now why we are learning YAML means because effective tomorrow we will be jumping into Docker Compose concepts where we get into multi-container architecture concepts, and slowly once we are done with multi-container architecture, then we jump into Docker Stack and Docker Swarm. After that, Ansible playbooks. Next, Kubernetes. There are a lot of things where we write YAML files. So it's really important for us to have some exposure to YAML. So that is why we are learning YAML here. And yeah, line separation and indentation, these are very important in YAML. And next, let's try to find how to write a comment in YAML. Comments, whatever the comments we want to write in YAML, comments begin with a hash sign, a pound sign. Once you put a hash sign and you write something, that is treated as a comment. That entire line is treated as a comment. Next, we know that we write configurations in key value pairs. Key, after that immediately a colon, and then a space, after that your value. This is how we write the keys and values. Next, how to create objects in the YAML. We just saw the example, but let's once again write how to create an object. Now let's say, let me take Notepad for this example, because my writing pad is causing some trouble. So let's go with a Notepad. Yeah, friends. So as I told you, YAML file begins with 3 dashes and with 3 dots, and in between we write all the configuration. So DevOps trainer is Prashant. Let's say big data trainer is Sridhar, and MuleSoft trainer is Ravi. This is my YAML file, and if I want to create an object, what to do? We go with adding something here like courses colon, and now to specify that these keys and values are a part of your object, we should do some indentation like adding a space, right below this, right below the courses object, whatever the lines of data we have, keys and values. To add them as child elements to our object, we should indent them. Indentation, friends, don't go with a tab. We should go with some spaces, and the space should be the same. You should maintain the same space on all the lines of data. If you go with one missing one space, what happens? Again, your YAML code won't get activated or valid. So there are some online YAML tools validation tools where we can check whatever the code we write whether it's valid or not. One such tool, one such site I'll show you. I'll go into my browser. Let's go to this Edge browser, and here YAML lint. There's a site called YAML lint, yamllint.com. Let's get into the site. Copy our code, copy this code, and let's check whether this is a valid YAML file or not. Let's click on go and see. Did not find expected key while parsing a block, mapping at line 2 column 1. Okay, see friends, the actual problem here is this one, big data. Let's click on go. Yeah, it's a valid YAML file. So there are some validation online YAML tools which using which we can validate our YAML. Another site is onlineYAMLtools.com/edit hyphen YAML, something like this. Hardly remember. Yeah, correct friends. And even here, if we add our code, or if we uh, browse our file where we wrote YAML code, and this YAML online YAMLtools.com, this site also validates your YAML and gives you the result whether your code is valid or not. Okay, so this is how we create objects, friends. And next lists. If we want to create some list of items in our YAML, so how to create a list? So I'll take a real example here. Let's take the example of an Ansible playbook. Don't worry if you don't understand Ansible playbook for now. Don't worry. Ansible playbook syntax goes something like this. Have name, host, and us, and let's say I want to install. Let's say I want to write some configuration of installing some packages like Apache Tomcat, HTTPD, and Java on all my managed nodes. So I write a configuration which goes something like this: name, host, task. After that, I have a name again here, and install Tomcat, HTTPD, and let's say Java on all managed nodes. So what we do here, we go with a module called apt module, and within this apt module, what I'll do, I'll write a name, and here I can add a list of items, like whatever the list of items we want to install. We specify them in this manner: name, and here a list of all our items, like h tomcat 9. Like say I want to install tomcat 9. Next, httpd. Okay, a list of items I'm specifying here, and next, open jdk hyphen 8 hyphen jdk. This is how we specify a list in YAML, friends. Name. After that, state, we go with present, and update underscore cache. Let's say yes. This is a YAML file which installs Tomcat, HTTPD, and Java on all the managed nodes. Okay, on all the managed nodes. This is how we write a list. And the other syntax for writing lists, let's go with another example for writing lists, which is something different. Let's go with another example where course underscore name. Okay, let's say the course you enrolled to is DevOps. Course name is DevOps, and price. Let's say the price is 200 USD. Next, duration. The duration is 3 months. Okay, I'm adding some data. Okay, duration. After that, now let's say tools. So what are the tools you're going to learn? So all DevOps tools, if I want to add here, I can add in the format of a list this way: tools, Git, comma, Jenkins, comma, Ansible, comma, Maven, comma, Terraform, comma AWS, next Maven, something like this. This is one such one of the approaches to create a list. And another approach is under tools, you hit enter, add some space, do some indentation, add a hyphen, and type your tools one after another. Python, okay. Add a space again, a hyphen here. Let's go with Maven, which Python Maven, Git, Docker, Kubernetes, Ansible. So it's a list. Under this tools, whatever we are adding with the hyphen, these entire lines are treated as a list. The second approach we already discussed. Okay, so creating lists in YAML is, with this approach we can create lists. Next, booleans. Booleans are the values which we can specify as true or false. Okay, tools. Next, let's say job underscore offered. Okay, once we are done with the course, whether we are offering jobs or not, true or false. In this way we have to specify our value here. So true, if jobs are offered, the value is going to be true for this job underscore offered key. And booleans we can specify in three different formats, friends. So true or false, or yes or no, or we can say on or off. True or false, yes or no, on or off. All of these mean the same. Okay, and boolean values we can specify in three different approaches. And just remember, true, false, on, off, and yes or no. Okay, job offered on, or yes, or true. Okay, boolean values. Next, one more thing we have to cover here is multi-line strings. Let's say we want to add some extended data into a key. As a value, we have to preserve some paragraph of data. So how to do that? That part let's find. And that is it, friends. We are pretty much we covered everything in YAML. And let's see this example too. So to write a multi-line string, let's say course underscore description, and I want to add some course description. Let's say this enrolling to this course will give a lot of insights around DevOps. Some data I'm adding here. CI/CD process in Jenkins and configuration management and container orchestration is huge demand. Okay, this way I'm writing some data, and this entire data is should be given as a value to my course underscore description key. So how to add key and value here means, friends, course underscore description, and if you add a greater than sign, okay, a greater than sign, the entire paragraph here, the entire string, data whatever we have typed, this entire data is treated as a value to this course underscore description, a string, a huge string. And now when we add a greater than sign, what happens is this entire data is treated as a single line. Whatever the data we typed, that entire data is treated in a single line. But what if we want to preserve new lines? We want to preserve the written keys. Okay, you structure something like this: enrolling to this course, hit enter, will give you a lot of insights around DevOps. This way, we added some insert keys, and yeah, we added some indentation. So how to preserve all these written keys, new lines, everything? In that scenario, we go with substituting that greater than sign with a pipe sign. Okay, it preserves all this data in which format you have entered here. All the enters, sorry, your new lines, everything is preserved. Okay, and yeah, friends, we covered pretty much everything, and finally we are left with only one thing. Let's try to understand that. So price 200 USD given, and again I want to refer to price somewhere over here in my YAML file. Let's say payment, and in this payment section I want to get the value. I want to get the value, how much to pay. 200 USD. So I want to refer to this 200 USD at at this level. So to get the value, which is already mentioned at the top, so what to do? We go with adding some reference here, like price 200 USD. Let's say again price. I type again price here, and when I type price, I add ampersand price, meaning now this value 200 USD can be referred with this ampersand price thing. This ampersand price acts as a reference to this value 200 USD. Now payment at the bottom, if I say payment is going to be star price, asterisk and a price, what happens? The value 200 USD is added to this key. It's something similar to payment is 200 USD. But what we are doing, we are creating some reference to this value here, and we are calling that reference by just typing asterisk name. Okay, asterisk name, and that value is referred here. So friends, just a quick overview, whatever the concepts we discussed. Let's do a quick overview and take a leave for today. So YAML, we said YAML is a serialization language. The extension, whatever the files we write, we save them with a .yml extension or .yaml extension. Okay, YAML is a serialization language, data serialization language, and other data serialization languages are JSON and XML. YAML is a superset of JSON, meaning any valid JSON code, you can save it as YAML file, and and we can happily execute that JSON code. Okay. After that, we talked about keys and values. YAML preserves the entire data in keys and values. Next, we talked about how to create objects. Then we discussed about how to write lists. Okay, two different approaches we saw, how to write lists. After that, how to create multi-line strings. Okay, if we don't want to preserve written keys and new line characters, we go with a greater than sign. If we want to preserve all the new lines and written keys, we go with a pipe sign. And to refer to some value, we create some reference, and to call that reference, we give an asterisk sign, and written, sorry, that respective uh, value name we specify in the value. Sorry, let me put it this way. We add some reference. Let's say there's a key called price, and the value is 200 USD, and I want to refer it under some payment. What we do, we add some reference value here, which goes something like this: dollar price and space 200 USD. And in the payment section, if you want to refer that 200 USD, what to do? Asterisk price, and 200 USD gets reflected in the payment. Yeah, YAML is popular, and we discussed all these key value pairs, comments, objects, lists, booleans. Boolean values we can add in three different modes. One is true or false, another one is yes or no, and the third one on or off. Okay, so if this information we are able to understand, we can easily get started with writing YAML files for Docker Compose and Docker Stack, Docker Swarm, yeah, Ansible playbooks, and Kubernetes configuration management, sorry, Kubernetes manifest files. Okay, so anything Any questions or doubts you have, please feel free to ask me in our regular sessions, and I'll clarify all your doubts when we connect in our regular sessions. So thank you very much, friends. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope to see you in the next tutorial. Have a good day, friends. Thank you.